Oh, hi, and welcome to Two Worlds Better from Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire. I'm at the California Superbike School. In fact, this one's slightly different because this one's a
Here I come.
It's a cornering school. Paul,
California.
What are you on about?
You said California. I'm ready. I've got my gear. I've got my sun cream. I've got the lot.
The California Superbike School. We've got this communication
in California?
problem. No, Cadwell Park.
Not in California?
No,
right.
I'm very sorry.
So I won't need... I won't need these.
It's leathers for a day like today. Even me in leathers, as you can see.
I haven't brought my leathers today.
Well, this is a serious training day. Forgive him, folks.
So,
but,
well, I've got no leathers.
No, well, I think you're better off going away, and perhaps I'll catch you later. But you can watch me sort of whizzing round.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun, won't it?
Yeah, well, please. Well, I've got a job to do.
Have a nice day. Yeah. That's what they say, isn't it?
It is. Have a nice day. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll catch him later. Well, this is Keith Code, the main man, the man himself. Keith, can you give us a sort of a quick rundown on today? But perhaps before you do that, how did all this start? Were you a road racer yourself?
Yeah, I did start road racing when I was about 16, and didn't race too much as a teenager. And that was in the 60s, and then the 60s hit me, and they hit hard. So I backed off from racing for quite a long time, and then I came back to it when I was about 28, and I was living in California and racing the club circuit out there, which was a good circuit at the time. And basically how this all came about was I realized I had no idea whatsoever what I was doing. And I just started applying some other information I had and trying to pull out some of the little gems of how you actually get around a corner on a motorcycle. Yeah. And I made myself happy, and then I started making some other people happy too. So it really worked out great.
So what is today? This is not a track day. I know you've made that clear to people.
Right.
This really is a school. And so how do you split the school up? What are we going to learn?
What we'll do today is 5 technical briefings, which I'll deliver, and then with the 5 ride instructors out here, each one of the students will be assigned to one of them, and the ride instructors put in the time with the students out on the track to make sure that they're actually doing the drills. And we try to just do that, focus in on one thing at a time, get the riders some confidence in that area, and then move on and make it a little bit more complex as the day goes on. First one is really a confidence builder, and it's our famous 1 gear no brakes drill, and we've been doing it now for about 10 or 12, well, 13 years actually. Yeah. And that's intended to bring up the rider's confidence that he can choose a correct turn entry speed for himself, so that he can actually look at that corner as it's coming up, especially one he's familiar with, and be able to find something that's not too fast and not too slow, but something that's right in that pocket right there.
So if you survive that one, then you can move on to stage 2 then, which is what stage 2, what's the next bit?
Well, we start off with good throttle control and a good definition of that and how it affects the rest of the corner for the rider. And then past that point, we're going to get into how to actually set up a corner. We take the single most important part of a corner is where it starts. And we have a couple of techniques out here on the track that we use that are very, very efficient for riders to be able to choose a turn entry point and really find themselves a super good line through there, but riding at their own skill level. Right? We're not trying to talk anybody into anything here. We're putting out some points, we're showing them how it can be done, giving them enough reasons to want to try those things, and then we move on to the next one, right, with the rider improving his confidence as the day goes through by looking at one thing at a time. What we're going to move into after we get the turning points sorted out is we're going to move into the whole area of steering the motorcycle. Right? What does it take to steer the motorcycle? Well, most people know how to do the counter steering procedure, but we take it about 5 steps further than that. And what are the advantages of getting the bike turned in a little bit quicker? What happens when you turn the bike in slower? What do you get? There are very specific results to each one of those things, and in some cases, one is vastly superior to the other. So we go through a little checklist on that thing and then get the riders out on the track to actually practice the skills that we go over in the technical briefing.
Oh, sounds good. He's providing knee sliders for that then, or isn't it that extreme?
I think most of the riders came with knee sliders on.
And so after that one, what's next? Or is that the 5? No, that's not the 5. That's about 4 of them.
That's 3.
The 3, yeah.
That's 3. And we move into the area of rider input, right? Motorcycles are very sensitive to what the rider actually does on them, right? We take a look at the rider actually becoming a perfect passenger on his own machine, right? What we know that the motorcycle is very sensitive to rider input. We know that a motorcycle will amplify anything that the rider does that it doesn't like. And it's very interesting because you can actually reproduce almost any bad handling characteristic in a motorcycle by putting the wrong rider on the bike.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to solve that to a degree. The first 4 sessions are more of how the rider interrelates with the bike, how to get the best out of the bike, right? And on the last session of these level 1 schools, we move into something that's a little closer to what the rider needs and wants before he actually gets to the corner. So we're looking at a small step that we've added to the cornering process that actually simplifies it, and that's the data gathering portion of it. And that's something that the rider does right before he gets into the corner, and we elaborate on that and give him or her the exact procedure for taking a look into that corner and finding out the information that they need so that they can get into that corner and feel comfortable with it, have enough space, and really deal with the turn entry, which is, for most riders, the most difficult part of a corner.
Well, we've just been out in the first session, and this was going around in 5th gear with no brakes. A very strange experience. Some of the guys in my yellow team, I don't think the yellow's got anything to do with our characters, has it, fellas? But how did you find it?
Initially, it was a bit perturbing, I think you could say. I mean, because as everybody, first thing to do, hit a corner, brake.
Yeah.
And he tells you don't brake.
Yeah.
And your mind's saying slow down. So you want to slow down, you use a brake.
It's very hard, isn't it? And how did you find it? Because you're on a 595, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, the first few laps, as you say, was strange. You've got a little confidence thing where you don't really need to, but you're still going for that brake as you go into the bend.
Yeah.
But after about four laps, I think it really sort of warmed to the idea. It was good. Yeah,
and what about you?
Well, it's the second time I've done that. I've done one of these no brakes drills before, and it made a lot more sense this time.
Did it? Oh, so you can actually learn from this then?
Yeah, I mean, first time out, I felt I was going into most of the corners too quick and having trouble rolling the throttle on. This time I felt much more comfortable in it, and it really worked.
Right, well, Jeff Stone's out on the track having a ball, and I'm stuck in the paddock here. This is Ralph. Ralph, what do you think of that?
Excellent day out, no question.
Brilliant. I mean, you're riding a bike here that's not an out-and-out sports bike, FJ 1200. But I suppose it proves you don't need a sports bike. Is that the case?
No, you don't. I mean, I bought the bike for touring, not for sports. And today's lessons was all about cornering, and you need cornering whether you're a sports rider or a tourer or any sort of road user.
That's right. Well said. So the big question, are you going to come again, and is it worth it? Is it value for money?
Excellent value for money, and I'm definitely coming again next year on the 2-day course.
Right then, what have you done? Have you broke it?
No, I'm just looking at these little balls on the side of the tyre. It's
Oh,
not where
right.
you normally find balls.
Is that where you are?
really?
Is that what? What's I know about your problems? Hey, it's hot, that, isn't it?
It's hot and sticky,
Yeah.
like me, really, I suppose. And I'm bothered about the back disc a bit. It's bluing up a bit, but it's
quite warm as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be rubbing on the pads. But you can see what you do. You can use the whole width of the tyre, which certainly I wouldn't normally do on the road. But it's
Well, you don't get a chance, do you, on the road?
Not to get that
to
sort
do
of
that. I
heat in
mean,
it,
that there. I mean, it's coming off.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the rubber. It's coming on my hands.
That's right. And for a school, I'll tell you one thing, it's getting a bit hairy out there.
There's some quick lads. Everyone's loosening up now, I've noticed.
Yeah, I think it's what you could call an approved school.
Yeah, well, everyone's definitely improving.
Oh, very good.
Oh, well.
Well, this is my focus group, as I'm going to call them now. Very fashionable word, that. It's Dave, Mike and Andy. Have I got that the right way around, fellas? Yeah. So how have you found it so far? First you, Dave.
Brilliant so far. Yeah, the first lesson was a bit sort of unusual, and then after that it's just got better and better. It's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I noticed with you overtaking me.
Sorry about that.
What about you, Mike?
This morning I just couldn't get it together, and I had a word with a few instructors, and they watched me closely and pointed a few things out, and after that it's just all come together and gelled. Just learned so much.
Yeah, you were saying earlier this sort of pushing on the bars and transferring your weight, it's an odd thing to get used to, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently I was doing it, but just not doing it quick enough, and it wasn't I wasn't doing what they wanted me to.
Yeah. And when they say be more aggressive and tip it in, you think, oh, I thought it was doing that already, didn't you? And what about you, Andy? You're going well on the little Bros here.
I just feel faster and more fluent.
Come on, you can come a bit closer.
Yeah, I just feel faster and more fluent. It's going well.
Yeah. And it's a nice bike, right? I mean, this is a very sort of natural little circuit, isn't it?
It's very twisty, and the lack of horsepower doesn't matter too much, or all of the time anyway.
So how do you think we're going to get on this last one now, sort of looking where you're going? That's a bit of a novelty, isn't it?
It'll be the first time today.
Well, this is my mentor for the day, Coby Fair. He's the guy who's been helping me and putting me on the right track, perhaps literally. Coby, thanks for your tips during the day. Did I actually improve, do you think?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. You know, you see riders that have been riding for many years, or even if they haven't been riding for many years, and they develop habits. And the nice thing about a racetrack and the school environment at a racetrack is that you can pare down the different skills and work on them one at a time. And the format that we have with the Superbike School and Keith's training is to divide each skill up into one classroom followed by a track session.
Yeah.
And you know, when I worked with you and rode behind you, I could see that there were changes every time you went out and rode.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, when I talked to you, I'd bring you in and just point out little things and let you know what you were doing.
Yes.
And
I know.
so yeah, well, you know, it gives some room there.
So did you spot any budding stars out there besides me, of course?
Yeah, there are quite a few good riders. I actually think that the British riders are just a little click above the Americans as a group.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit more serious about their riding.
And you're not just saying that because you're here.
No, it's honest truth. If I had to, I've done schools in about 4 different countries now, and I would say that the Brits are a click above the Americans, and that the Australians as a group are just maybe a click above the Brits. You guys probably hate hearing that.
Yeah. No, it's all
but
right.
you know, I mean. They're super serious about their riding, and they get a lot of track days in.
Yeah.
But well, there are quite a number of good riders here today. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thanks again. It's been a pleasure to have met you, and thanks for your valued input.
Jeff, glad you came.
Pleasure.
Alrighty. Thanks.
You can't really tell anybody how to ride a motorcycle. You can talk to them about it, but you know, everybody's got their own sort of sense of what happens to them when they go around a corner. Everybody does the straights pretty well, I think. That's not usually a problem. But the corner thing gets a little complicated sometimes.
Alfreton in Derbyshire is where we are today. Brett is this fella stood by my side here, who's the sort of originator, many moons ago, of a club specialising and just like individualising the amazing tools that we used many moons ago called Kawasaki Triples. Tell us about the club, Rick. Tell us about this event here in Alfreton.
Well, this event is for owners and lovers of the Kawasaki Triples. The bike was released in 1968 with this particular model, which is the 500. From there, it progressed to make 4 other models: the 250, the 350, the 400, and the 750 variations on the two-stroke triple. And as I say, the people here are just collectors and lovers of them.
Bloody hundreds of them. They've come from all over Holland, Germany, wherever, haven't they? You know. And what do you got to do while you're here? I presume you have a few beers of a night, just 1 or 2,
and abuse the bikes to death, basically.
We've noticed that as well while we've been here. Then you go for a run. Where do you go for the run?
We're going to Matlock for the run today. The weather's been a bit doubtful, so we'll go to Matlock. It's only about 20 miles. Go to Matlock, have a drink, and head for home.
Have an orange juice and a Coke.
Of course, yeah.
Yes,
it wouldn't
I
be
realise
alcohol.
that.
Yeah, of course.
And then an annual happening. You've done this for many moons.
Yeah, this is the club originated 16 years ago, and this is the 15th rally, and the club's still getting bigger and bigger. The owners are generally in the 30 to 40 age bracket, so they're all middle-aged. They left the wives and their families at home and come to get away from it all for the weekend and relive their childhood years.
Now this is Simon Whitelock. This is the bike that's attracting all the attention here today. Simon, I was looking at your other bike, your 9-cylinder. Was that last year's project?
2 years ago.
Right, and this is your party piece for this year?
Yeah, that's the last 6 months' work.
So what's this?
This is a straight 7, based on a KH250 engines and barrels, with a widened frame, tank, seat, tailpiece, airbox, and obviously the engine.
I was looking at that because you don't. Everyone's eyes are drawn to the engine, but when you look down on it, the tank's wide. Everything, all this is wide. I mean, it's not a case of just jamming it in an ordinary frame, is it?
Well, no, there's a lot of welding gone on there.
Yeah.
But I managed to widen the frame without using a motor liner jig, which you're meant to have. But basically, you cut one side of the frame off, take it out 50mm, weld it back up, take the other side out, another 50mm. So it's done in 2 stages.
Right. So you must be an engineer by trade?
Building surveyor by trade.
All right.
But I work as a project manager.
Oh, so where did you get planning permission for this?
Off the council.
Did you need planning permission for this?
No, not for the shed either that it's in.
But how does it run? How does it perform?
It's eating a lot of plugs at the moment because it's only done about 10 miles. But it's tax and MOT'd, tax disc on the other side.
Right, but I mean, do these specials that you build, I mean, they probably don't, I don't know, I'm guessing they don't perform the same as a standard, they don't handle quite as well.
Well, this one has a slightly lower centre of gravity than a standard triple, so the handling's not bad at all.
Yeah.
But the ground clearance is somewhat limited.
Yeah, they probably don't go any better though, do they?
Off a shovel it does.
Well, right, yeah. So what's the point of this? Why have you done this? Is it just to prove people wrong who say you can't do that with a bike?
Well, no, many years ago I built a 4, and there was a very clever chap, built a 5 last year. So 6 was the next one, but that was too obvious.
Yeah, that's easy, isn't it? That's 2 engines, yeah.
Yeah, well, 7's the right number because it's odd.
Yeah.
As in 3.
Yeah.
So 8's too wide, 7's a nice number.
When you said that was odd, somebody over there said as in you.
No, I'm perfectly sane.
They all think you're completely mad.
I'm just a little poorer, that's all.
I'm sure you are. People come from all over the place. They must be crackers. This fella's come from Holland and now he's taking the damn thing apart. Leo, what on earth are you doing?
Well, adjusting carburation a bit, because it was running heavy on fuel, so I have to adjust.
I thought the Scotsmen were known for being a little bit tight. Is it the Dutch as well? Is it just because it's using a bit too much petrol?
Yeah. Well, you know about double Dutch, don't you?
Well, I talk double Dutch most of the time, I know that. Is it a fault? I mean, is it running like bad, or is it just because you want to get a little bit more, a few more miles to the gallon out of it?
More miles to the gallon, because the tank takes only 14 litres, and now I can get just about 60 miles on it.
Right. So you're stopping every time you get out of 5th gear. You want to come down again, and yeah, right. Fair enough. How long is it taking to get here then?
Well, I got here with the HSS, with the speedboat. I called it with the jet propelled.
So you didn't get wet?
Didn't get wet. The trip over the sea was 3.5 hours, and to get here was another 3.
Where have you come? Where did you dock at? Where did you go to?
Hook and Holland Harwich.
All right then, yeah.
That's not too far.
No, not really, I suppose. No, but it's still a long way to come, especially when then you've got to start working on your bike afterwards.
That's hobby.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you're very organised here with your little jets and a nice unit. Are you an engineer or something?
Sort of.
It tells, you know. You can tell. The bike. Tell us a bit about the bike. Have you had this bike for a long time?
I've had the bike since '87, and been working on it since.
And is this the best you can do? You're still working on it here now?
Well,
no, I mean that in the nicest possible way. Do you use it daily?
As often as I can.
Yeah.
But I don't care too much about appearance.
As long as it works right.
I want the engine to be right.
Now, Rick, this is one of your bikes. This looks very sad.
You know, this is actually one of my favourite bikes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I came round here before and there was 20 people stood round and one guy working on it. I thought it was a 2 Wheels Better production meeting, but it wasn't. But what's happened?
I'd love to know. We thought it had seized up. There was a bit of banter last night about the speed the bike does. I know it's done over 150 miles an hour, this bike, even though it's a 1971 bike, and nobody would believe me, so I sort of tried to prove it last night, and it was over 130 when it locked up.
On a private road, of course.
Of course, on a private road.
Yeah,
Where else?
I'm glad you said that, right. And it just packed up?
It just got slower and slower. I presumed it was seizing up. Rather than risk it any further, we went and recovered it. Gary stripped it down today, and so far we can't find anything wrong, but it's still locked up.
So you don't. I'm going to say what's the diagnosis. You don't really know yet.
We don't know. No. Until the engine comes out and we break the engine apart, it's presumably the gearbox at the moment.
Dear me. Well, you don't look too sad, and that's probably because this is only one of your bikes.
Yeah, I've got 1 or 2 more.
Go on, tell us how many you've got.
About 30, yeah.
30 of what, triples?
30 triples, yeah. I think I've got about 15 of the 750s.
Why? Have you got a fetish for triples?
Terribly sad, I'm afraid.
Obviously got far too much money as well.
Yeah, they're very charismatic bike. Yeah.
if you take a triple to Matlock, there'll be 1,000 bikes there. You'll walk past plastic bikes, row upon row upon row, but everybody will stop at a triple because people just love the triples, and they're very addictive.
Well, I'm joined by Craig here, who's the owner of this lovely blue, matching blue microphone head here with the blue bike. Craig, you know about the history, the ownership history of this, but it's not just come from Japan straight to here, has it? It's come via the States. Tell us about that.
That's correct. When we were at school, there's two mates that they wanted. We always were keen on these, and he went over to America to work for NASA. He had no time to ride it. Another friend went over there for holiday, borrowed it for 2 weeks, fell in love with it and brought it back, and I bought it off him. So like, even though it's an American bike, I know the full history of it. Like,
are we talking big bucks when you bought it, or do you have to negotiate? Do you have to pin him down, get his arm up his back to get the right price?
Yeah, I bought it for £2,000, and they go from anything from 2,000 to 4,000 depending what condition they are actually in.
Strike a light, that sounds an awful lot of money, does that? But when you got it then, was it anything like this at 2,000 quid? Have you made it what it is now?
Well, a friend of mine, John Edge from Ashbourne, he's done a lot of work on it with me, like, and we've restored it to this condition. It is a restored bike. It was nothing like this when we first got it. The paintwork was no good, the chrome wasn't that good. We've just done bits at a time at it over the last 2 years.
Excuse my ignorance, and there will be a lot of people out there viewing who are as ignorant as I am when it comes to these sort of imported in things and so on. Is it taboo? Is it like, do the rest of the lads think, oh, it's an American one, that's not the real thing, or whatever? How do people look upon it then?
There's some people like the American ones and some people like the English ones. The English ones seem to fetch a bit more money than the American ones. But it's just personal taste, really. You can always tell an English one because it should have a mudguard on the back, the American ones don't.